Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, I'm Mac Willsy. I'm a songwriter and producer for Cohesive Music.
Yeah, my name's Thomas James. I'm a producer and songwriter, and I kind of class myself as a spoken word artist, if you like.
How did this all begin?
Interesting question, really. I've been producing for the last 10 years or so, different bits of stuff, but mainly house music. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I started producing just different bits, really. And my brother came round to the house one time, heard it, liked it, and he decided to put a hook on it. Little did we know that it kind of expanded into us creating a record label. We've sat down in the studio over the last 3 or 4 years and decided to write different bits, and the cohesion was good.
Absolutely.
as the label suggests. So yeah.
What is it like working with your brother?
Yeah.
Want me to answer?
Yeah, you go with that one.
He's my brother, obviously, but he doubles up as my best friend, so it's quite easy. It's been quite a natural and organic process, really. We have different backgrounds, but we're similar, so we kind of have the same outlook on life and music, if you like. So it kind of just happened, really.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing as well, I think, is it's massively important when you're working with artists and various different artists. A lot of my experience over the years has been that us musicians, songwriters, producers, whatever we class ourselves as, carry a weight of ego, and again, it's very, very hard sometimes to sort of navigate around that concept or that exact aspect of a person. But with us, there's as Wes said, there's literally no egos. It's just exact. It is who we are, and it's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you make music for?
Very good question. I was speaking about this earlier.
Yeah,
I personally don't make music for a specific person, age, genre, gender. For me, it's about people who like who are open to different styles of music. As you'll see over the coming months, we have a lot of different.
So quite eclectic.
Yeah. Different styles of music that will be releasing under the label. And I believe it will attract people who are a little bit more open-minded rather than just trying to categorise it as grime, garage, etc. So I'm quite excited for the future, really, if I'm honest. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Based on what you said, I write, first and foremost, I write music for us. So we're not trying to jump on a trend or copy or emulate what has been or is going to be. It is a natural aspect, not to use that again. But I want to write music which tells story, which is real, which is from the which people can relate to. Not just from my culture, or our culture, not just from our area, our group of friends, or our demographic. I want to, appeal to the greater good. So, we want to write music which is honest and tells pretty much a story from start to finish, and that's who we're writing music for. And I think if I was to sort of really get to the nitty-gritty of it, I think realistically, I've noticed that there's a hole, within the industry where people of a certain age aren't talking the truth, aren't talking about a lot of the aspects of love, anger, every kind of emotion which a human has, and if you are talking about love as an older person, it tends to be a fake identity or a fake representation of that.
I think it's not just about love, it's about family, it's about where you come from,
absolutely.
Even down to trauma that you faced, all of that wrapped up into a music that you can vibe to, but also I think I can see where these boys are coming from.
There's a message behind it. There's substance behind what it is that we're saying.
So you have the lyrics, the experiences. How do you make a good song?
Personally, I think it's about what resonates with me. I'm not going to go on a track and and sit there and talk about stuff that doesn't relate to me or my experiences.
Yeah.
Coupled with the backing track and it sounds good, and if we can couple those together, for me that's all I need.
I think for me, over the years, I mean, my background is mainly from a musician perspective as well. So songwriting, I'm a drummer first and foremost, and I have been play guitar and many different instruments. I think what I've kind of noticed is that it's when you work with people that don't know what it is that they do and why they do that. I think it's about understanding who you are, what it is that you want to say, and having, like as you say, the accompaniment of the beats, the instrumentation, etc., which sits behind that and helps obviously give the platform for the artist to come through. So it's not necessarily something on trend. It could be 3 words, it could be a hook, it could be anything. It's not necessarily about the lyrics. It's about the arrangement and everything which is coupled together for me, which really makes a song be just a song and the next level.
Everyone has different processes. So our process isn't lyrics first, then song.
No.
Majority of the time, it's the song that drives the lyrics. So just to put that out there, that's just the way that we write.
Well, yeah. There's it's kind of again. Going back to an earlier question in terms of what it's like to work with your brother, the aspect which and being best mates as well at the same time is crazy, because it's he'll come with an idea of a song, and before he's pressed play, there's a vibe, there's an energy to the music which makes it a lot easier to just write itself.
Yeah.
And again, that in my experience, good songs just write themselves sometimes. You don't necessarily always have to. Most people think that you have to slave for months and months and then to get the end process. Sometimes that's the case, but in most instances, it speaks. The song speaks to you, and the pen or your ears or do the rest for you.
100%.
What are your missions and visions?
First and foremost, it's about releasing authentic music, real music and honest music about our experiences and where we've come from. Secondly, it's about bringing people from different backgrounds, musical backgrounds, and trying to enable it into one, which for me excites me more than anything. I'll take an example of Marcus is from an indie rock background as a drummer. That's his trade, and I'm a DJ, potentially a DJ from the 90s. Started DJing at 13, went into production. So I'm very much from an underground background, drum and bass, garage, house, and it's about amalgamating those two things together, which then creates the sounds that we have.
Initially, the process of writing songs is songwriting, but the way that you would essentially sit down and write a rock song, a rock pop song, whatever, is sometimes different to the process to what you would do on a garage or a house track or anything like that. But nonetheless,
it's weird as well, because over time you'll see the releases coming from Cohesive, and there's so much different flavours that create the tracks. Like you might have an Afrobeaty track, 2-step track,
a ballad, that sort of more down, lo-fi sort of track. But I think it's important to get the flavours. It's important to get the culture of what we've grown up from. We're Birmingham born and bred. We're from an area where it's multicultural. So our perspective, our views, not just in terms of music, but in life, are widespread, wide scale. And I think cohesive music is about capturing exactly that and embodying it, as you said, in one place.
What's the process?
Yeah, it's well, I've got a studio in my house, and so does Marcus. So I might send him an idea, and he'll go, "Yeah, I like that," and then he'll develop that idea in his house, send it back. What do you think to this, bro? I might then add to that, and vice versa. He might send me an indie pop kind of idea. What do you think to this, bro? Yeah, I like that. We could probably do this with that. So it's really just bouncing ideas off each other, which it works really well. And then at one point we'll sit down in the studio like we are today and try and thrash out the idea into a song.
I think, but that approach, you know, whether it be with us or whether it be independent with other artists, is exactly the same process. We're not guys that were, you know, if we had an artist who came to us and said, like, I want to write a song, I don't necessarily have the skill set to write lyrics or to produce the music or have in my head what I want to hear, but don't have the ability to be able to do that. We have the platform and the experience of being able to sort of embody that and really showcase and give to that artist and develop them, you know, with a product which, you know, is good enough for radio play. And that's exactly, you know, what we do as producers, as songwriters, and what we want to not just do for ourselves, but obviously for aspiring artists, producers, etc., etc.
What's important to you?
I think number one, it's us developing our sound in order to attract the right artists to come to the label, and then giving a springboard to aspiring artists who don't necessarily have the resources for a music video or to release it on Spotify. We just want to be able to enable people to truly hone into their craft, and us giving them the platform to do so. Yeah, I'm not sure how you feel about it.
Exactly the same. You know, literally, we want to be, you know, what we require. Importantly, from you know, not just from ourselves, is work ethic. You know,
100%.
Authenticity. You know, someone's got to have substance. It can't be just a dash way kind of, you know, pop number where someone wants to come on board just because it hits a trend and it's going to do this for all of 5 minutes and do that. I'm not interested in any of that. I want people that are hungry, that want to succeed and have the work rate and ethic that mirrors exactly that.
I think we touched on it previously as well. You know, if you're a grime artist and you've got a grime record, you know where to go with that grime record. If you've got, you know, a house track, you know which record label to approach in order to get that out there. Where there's slightly different artists who don't necessarily fit in a box, we want to appeal to those kind of artists, you know, who don't have the confidence to kind of create their own thing.
It's almost like the rough diamond, you know, the people that have the ability but just don't have all the ingredients to bring it all together. You know, that's exactly what we want to do and what the platform we want to create for, you know, any of these people that, and it doesn't matter whether it's an artist or a producer. You know, primarily if they've got ideas and an aspect of what they want to portray and get out into the world, then, you know, we're all ears, and provided they're good people and they come with all the right attributes, then primarily we're open to working with them.
I think the fact it's really important to kind of state it's attitude first, then it's work. You know, we could take on the most talented person, but if they've got the wrong attitude, it doesn't really work. Yeah. So that attitude is imperative, and then we can build on the skills that they may be lacking further down the line.
Tell us about your setup and team.
Yeah, so as I say, as we mentioned earlier in some of the questions, that, you know, there's a lot of experience between both of us, you know, on different aspects. You know, mine's more on the musicianship side of things, and Wes is more on the, you know, the DJing and the underground aspect of being part of that scene. So those two obviously speak volumes for themselves. And then aside from, you know, the producing, the writing as to what we do, we also work with a guy called Paul Tandy, who does a lot of our mixing and mastering. He's also, you know, got a lot of years of experience, you know, within music as well, and he sits somewhere in between both of us really. He's a producer, songwriter, and he also, you know, does mixing, mastering and editing, you know, for us and independently himself. At the same time, you know, we've got another tier to that, where our social medias and all that kind of stuff is, if it's not handled directly by us, We have the likes of Mike and Alex, who also obviously help out and do that side of things.
We've got designers as well, but the great thing, what I like about the team is we all come from different places, and again, go back to the key cohesive name. It's trying to amalgamate everyone's skills, and then putting it into one. Which makes for an exciting time for me personally, because you never know what the end ingredient looks like. You know what I mean? So I think we've got a good team, good attitude, good skills, and I feel like we're obviously going to add to that as time goes on. But we're in the right direction, I believe.
Yeah.
What's next for Cohesive?
So we got a few releases. What we this has been a lot. This has been a few years in the planning, yeah.
Yeah.
So during that time, throughout lockdown, we've just been writing. We've already released Darkness, which came out during lockdown. So that was kind of like more of I wouldn't say a test, but I would say
I'd say a test. Yeah.
It's more of a test in that respect, but. Now that's out there and it's been well received, and people know, not only order from the the quality of the songwriting, but also the visuals as well. There's a level of
anticipation.
Yeah. So we got quite a lot of new tunes ready to drop, in the wings, ready to be released. So they're going to be released over a schedule over the coming months.
I think it's fair to say when we dropped Darkness, we didn't kind of understand the direction where we wanted to go.
No.
And we realised it was a little bit. It wasn't either here or there in terms of style. So obviously over the last couple of years or so, we've kind of sat down and tried to map out what does cohesive or what does our style look like. Again, we've got loads of different styles coming, and I'm just really excited. Over the next 6-7 months, you'll see more releases from us on a consistent basis. And I think the key for us is to be consistent. That's the most important thing for me.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Who's your influencers?
Mine, it goes from this to that. Literally, my musical influences are massive. So whether it be from country classic, right the way to metal, hip hop, R&B, garage, the list goes on and on and on. So I would probably say I don't have a direct influence to one person that is kind of mapped me all the way through it. I think songwriting, if I could be revered anywhere as successful as maybe someone like Stevie Wonder, I'd be very happy with that, and as pioneering and as open as someone like Kanye in terms of production, and just being out there a bit off the wall, against the grain and brave with the production side of it. I'd be very happy with that.
Again, I've got so many influences. I've grown up with soul, classic in the house. My uncle was a house DJ. He was quite big in the 90s. Like, the list goes on in terms of influence. So I couldn't really pinpoint one person. I'm currently listening to Tourist, who's an electronic producer, and for me, he's making some really good stuff. Like, you can't really pigeonhole his music, and for me, as an artist, as a producer, I want my music not to be pigeonholed, because then you're creating your own bits and bobs, really. So in terms of writing, I don't see myself as a rapper. Never really did. I started as writing music, funny enough, as a kid, and it's kind of developed to this. But if I was to emulate someone's skill set, I'd have to go with someone like J. Cole. Big fan of Kendrick Lamar, and obviously production-wise,
storytellers.
Storytellers, and I'll rate that. Production-wise, Timbaland has to be up there. Definitely have to be up there, and obviously Kanye as well. So I don't really take influence from one person, more like a collective of people and sounds as such.
What advice would you give to up-and-coming artists and producers?
For me, there's 3 key ingredients to succeed in life, whatever you do, and those are patience, hard work, and consistency. And just to give you a little bit more meat on the bones to that, I don't think as a society that we are teaching our youngsters to be patient. You know, they might have the skills, they might be hardworking, but without the key ingredient of patience, they never know what they could achieve. So I think that's really important. It goes about saying hard work. You gotta work hard at your craft. You've got to develop. You can never feel like you've made it. You know, there's always that next step that you can take. So being hardworking is really important, and then consistency. You know, and I'll use an example. You might release a tune that not everybody takes to, but the next tune everybody might take to. But if you don't have that consistent approach, then you'll never know. And I feel, as a society, sometimes we stumble over hurdles that we probably could overcome with consistency. So that is my key.
I'd agree with everything that Wes has said in that respect. I also think vision is massively important, because you know there's lots of people who are talented but just don't know where they fit in. They don't know what it is that they want to achieve, and they think that just the sheer aspect of being talented is just going to obviously pay dividends in results. That frankly is not the case. You need to know what you need to do, when you need to do it, as well as being exactly of the following all the three that Wes has also said. The other thing I think that most importantly today is people. There's a lot. I think more so now. There's a lot of people who have a lot more talent than visual talent, audible talent than what there were when we were kids. It's a lot more accessible, YouTube, so on and so forth. So there's a lot more influences. But the one thing that seems to sort of diminish along with the accessibility is passion. People have a lot of talent, but do they have the passion and, as you say, the determination to be committed, consistent, patient, and so on and so forth? So I would say, my honest opinion, I would say, as long as they follow those aspects of what we said, they'd be in and around about of a successful run at it, really.
How did you first get into music?
That's a good question. For me, I've always been involved with music. Obviously, as I said, I come from a musical family. My uncle was a big DJ back in the 90s, so I was always surrounded with music. I remember getting my first karaoke machine, messing around with that, and then it went onto a radio, but back then it was pirate radio. So I was recording the latest shows and then taking it to school on my Walkman. And then at 13 I got my first pair of DJ decks, and it kind of just took off from there. Then I went on to doing Silk City Radio, which at that time was a massive thing for me. I was 18 on one of the biggest radio platforms in Birmingham. I was getting heard, and so for me it was massive. And I always aspired to those DJs that I listened to prior to that at that point. So as I said, I've been always involved in music, and then probably 10 years ago from now I've been producing, so just one thing led on to another, and here we are, cohesive music. Really,
absolutely. So. My journey is slightly different, but nonetheless the same. We're from a musical background. Our dad, he's a musician, he's a drummer, and we've always, since day dot, been in and around musical influences, whether that be from our uncles or directly from our dad. It's just been a thing. And so my journey is that ever since I've been having drum lessons, guitar lessons, piano lessons since I was very, very young, and then I went on to join lots of different bands. So since the age of 13, right up to now, I've been out on tours, in different studios, different artists all over the world, recording, and honing my craft in terms of becoming the best musician, and understanding not just my ability to play music, but understanding the theory, the background, the substance of what makes a song, how it should be put together, and being able to sort of play and manipulate that. So I've been honing my craft over years. So that's realistically what my journey is, and along that way I've met many interesting people, some very successful people, and people that I definitely want to emulate the rules and the aspects of success that they've had. So yeah, it's been.
It's an interesting dynamic as well, because I feel like Marcus has been a little bit more classically trained, as so to speak. or not even classically trained.
Yeah.
You know, but you've had that kind of musical taught to you, whereas I feel I've kind of had to learn it myself, and I'm still learning. If I'm honest with you. So it's quite an interesting dynamic when those two come together. And you know, he might give me some tips on something that I didn't necessarily know musically. So we're always learning, is what I'm saying.
And we're always learning. I think even despite the fact that the experiences I've been lucky enough to have, every day is a school day, as they say, not to be cliche, but it's true. And you're always adding to your repertoire of skills, in which to build and to have the best outcome, whether that be directly for us or an independent artist as well.
Who would you most like to collaborate with?
I'll let you take that one first, man. I think. Oh,
It's a big question, that is.
but from a production side of things, Timbaland is well up there for me. I've watched videos of him in the studio, and he makes beats from his voice. You know, I mean, how creative can you be?
The guy's a legend.
You know, how creative can you be? So, from a production side, I'd have to say Timbaland from my perspective.
Artistry. I think my favourite singer ever is Marvin Gaye. Just in case anyone didn't know who Marvin was. So I'll probably, if he was alive and well and living, I would probably want to write an album or write some songs for him. But however, not in the yesteryear with a modern day twist. You know. So yeah, that's what I'd probably like to do.
Where can we find you?
We're all on the socials. Cohesive Music on Instagram. Cohesive_music. And then we're on Spotify under Thomas James and Mac Willsy. Facebook again, Cohesive Music. And we've also got an email address which is socials@cohesivemusic.co.uk.